Alright guys, HyDra again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The CDL is back in action today and Dashy is trying to put to an end once and for all the SMG versus AR debate, saying that the Rival-9 of this game right now is just way stronger than the MCW, possibly needs a nerf, possibly needs to get GA'd. What's the future of this going to be? Plenty else to discuss as well. Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Just like Crim, I'm away from home for a few days, so videos on my laptop in a hotel room for the next couple of days, but there is plenty to dive into. Also, Crim, by the way, I mean, come on. This guy's P1 after practice yesterday. If you guys don't know, he's driving in the Porsche North American Championship Series, something like that. Obviously, in real life, right? He retired from cards. This is like the absolute superb after, like, you know, competing, right, thing to do. You know what I mean? Instead of doing content, just go and do what you want to do and drive race cars for a living, because that's what Crim's doing now, effectively. And after practice yesterday at Sebring in Florida, he was P1. So, and his teammate was P2. So, hopefully, Crim does well for the rest of the weekend. Just some shots here as well of his car on track yesterday. Number 86, if you guys know, I mentioned that 86 is just a random number. Hopefully, at some point, he gets to actually effectively choose what his race number is going to be. There was also lots of talk about challenges yesterday, and I did want to share this clip for you guys as well here, from Doug reacting to Cammy MVP. So Cammy, of course, now on the Boston Breach Academy. Pretty much Doug retired, and then the opportunity arose. So Cammy was on the Thieves this season, and Cammy's been a stable starter in the league for the last several years. And this season is basically the first season that he's out of the league, and he's been cooking in challenges since he's gone down there, which is the expected thing. Like, when you're a top-level pro, you should be expected to go and fry in challenges. But I think that Cammy's been especially impressive. This is against Dylan Rex, Proloot, Spartan, Fire on the other side, and Cammy goes double positive with like an 8 spree here to close out this control in the round 5. Ends up like 38 and 19. So, you know, this is what you may expect, but also I think these performances from Cammy will be gaining attention because it wasn't working on Thieves. But, you know, the talent is still there, and I just don't really know why Cammy's been so underwhelming for the last few years. And maybe put him back in the Pro League and it's no different to how it's been for the last couple of titles. But there's a reason why Cammy kept getting these chances, was because people know this guy's really good. And I wouldn't be massively surprised if, you know, as and when Rostermania comes around after the major, teams are looking at Cammy as an option, just because there are, you know, the flex role in the league. There are a few players right now that are somewhat underperforming in that role, especially, you know, the fact that Illy is gone. We don't know where, obviously wishing him the best right now, but Serge haven't said anything. You know, Big Wake is not necessarily performing so well. Even Priestahh on the main Boston team has been a bit underwhelming. So I think there's something to be said about that over time. But speaking of challenges, Miami have confirmed, finally, what they're doing with their challenges event. And they say that based on all the discussions they've had, they actually can do challenges alongside Major 2 at the same venue. So I imagine that everyone that's been putting this on, I know that like Misfits as an organization as well, we're getting big time involved in getting this over the line here, because the initial belief was challenges wasn't going to happen. Then it was, well, we're going to try and do it, but it might be 3 weeks later at a different venue. And it's like, okay, well, better than nothing, but not ideal. And I guess they didn't think they had the space to make this work, but they've had the appropriate conversations, and they will be hosting a challenges event alongside Major 2 in Miami. Well, it's not really Miami, it's Fort Lauderdale, some way north of Miami. That is Broward County Convention Center, I'm pretty sure is what the venue is going to be called. So, yeah, as they say, lowering the price for tickets because there was a severe delay in play here. I believe it's going to be a 64-team event as well, which is, you know, this is like the minimum you can really do. But I think it's, yeah, obviously it's much better than nothing. People will say, oh, you know, why not 128? But I mean, come on, the amount of like space to organize a 128 team tournament is pretty tough. So hopefully the teams with the best seeds get like first dibs on the you know, on actually getting the passes, because otherwise people are just going to be flying there as soon as they go live, right, which presumably is going to be today. This also, though, from the developers, can you believe it, after like a week and a bit, they finally deployed a fix, of course, in ranked for the cruise missile that's been playing up. So I'm not actually sure, give it away, whether this works or not, because whenever the devs say they fix something, I always think, all right, like, let's actually see, shall we, whether that's the case or not. Before making too much of a judgment, I also realize I'm really orange today. Like, I think it's just the color of the lighting in it. The only options I have is either this color here, which is like kind of bright. Maybe that's better, actually. Let's go with that for the time being. I'll figure it out over the coming days. Figuring out the lighting in these rooms is always like a funny thing you got to get figured out as soon as you get into a hotel room. Other problems, though, most certainly that the developers do need to fix. This was a crazy one, I thought, on Skidra here. Usually when we talk about dodgy spawns in this game, we're talking about invasion, we're talking about sub-base, but man, this is something special here on the Skidrow, and I've said it before, and I'll probably say it again. When they did the major game overhaul, if they'd have just put all of the effort they put into that, into fixing the spawns, they probably would have found the game in a pretty damn good spot. But because they went to change all the hill rotations and didn't put enough attention into spawns, we have this. I mean, have a look at this guy, number 5. If you're number 1 here, you've got the whole cross into, this is like the 4th hill on Skid Row. You're blocking the back spawns, or at least you think you're blocking the back spawns. But no, number 5 spawns right behind you, shoots you in the back, and then they get the break. It's like, are we serious right now? This might be one of the worst spawns that I think I've personally seen, really. The number 1 somehow isn't blocking this back spawn. I just don't understand. This was a funny clip as well that was going around yesterday from Zero Stream. So he was discussing what he was getting paid on the subliners back in the day. Now, I'm pretty sure that Mr. Spawn up here was cutting out some elements of this. Like, you know, just to shorten the clip where Zero was actually, you know, he wasn't just saying, oh, wow, they didn't pay me any money and I'm not grateful. Like, Zero was saying, like, I was wasting a lot of this money, right, when he was getting paid that back. But at the same time, you know, you kind of get it, right? These guys, you know, early 20s, they're getting paid the mega bucks to play COD, living in New York. You know, maybe they're going to have a nice apartment, right? And Zero probably thinks in hindsight, okay, maybe I should have had a slightly less nice apartment and saved a bit more money. But still, the numbers they were getting paid year 1 for, you know, of course, Zero was good at that time for sure, but he wasn't theoretically like, you know, top 5 player in the league candidate, but he was still getting paid, you know, what he says.
You know, back on New York, I signed a contract, $220K a year. Fucking, by the time, you know, New York tax plus rent on top of that, I weren't making serious. I weren't making serious money by the time I paid rent and got taxed. You know, the rent was my issue. You know, that's by the time I paid my rent and stuff like that. You know, I was supposed to make like, what is it, 18,000 a month. By the time it hit my account, I think I had 10,000, and then by the time I paid rent in New York and then food on top of that, like, you know, I made more money. I made more money on FaZe than I did on New York by the end of it. I mean, low key, they shouldn't pay your rent. Really and truthfully, they shouldn't pay your rent, because they were giving us fucking a shit ton of money. But New York's expensive, man.
So 220 grand a year back then in the first year of the CDL was pretty standard procedure, I would say. I would say that was a roundabout league average probably at the time, because there were certain players like, for example, Surge, they were getting paid well over 300, I'm pretty sure, each. Then you've got, obviously, Scump and the other guys and the FaZe boys that I imagine are making a fair bit. So I don't really know what the average was, but I'd say back then, at what Zero was on, it wasn't too dissimilar. I guess teams like Vegas that probably always went, you know, for the minimum were dragging the average down to some degree. But, you know, that's pretty much, and to be fair, like, you live in New York, you pay a lot of tax, things are expensive. So it doesn't, you know, this money doesn't go forever, especially if you're not so responsible with it. But, you know, I mean, what can you expect? COD pros being responsible with money? Like, come on, let's be serious here. So there was also, though, the talking point from Dashy yesterday on the rivalry between the Rival and the MCW. It's kind of interesting how back and forth this goes every single year. And when the debate is quite split, I tend to think that the guns are probably reasonably balanced. But to be fair, in the hands of Dashy, the Rival does look pretty spectacular. Now, so does the MCW, let's be honest. Dashy shoots rather straight, if you hadn't noticed, and that does help when having these long-range gunfights. But, you know, aBeZy obviously was giving his thoughts that, no, the Rival's not strong enough, you know, we need more MCW nerfs. And to be fair, the MCW, you know, they've nerfed it a fair bit, haven't they? They've made some changes over time, because at the start of the game, it was the dominant force, there's no doubt. The Rival wasn't used as much, but every year we see this, that as the game progresses, people use the SMG more and more, and Dashy's been trying it out over the last couple of days, and if absolutely necessary, Dashy could clearly use this gun. But some of the shots he's hitting here on Karachi, of course, his reaction I thought was kind of funny, like the little laughs he was throwing in, because, you know, just hitting some of these shots with the Rival, sure, some of these guys are a bit weak, but, you know, to beat them across map like this is very impressive.
Oh my god.
I whiffed.
That's a cope, that's a cope.
One's for red Neo car.
Oh my god, bro, he moved too fast for my shit. Everyone had a piece of my ass
Dead.
right there.
Closet, backside bus.
What?
Back left, absolute group.
I swear I'm actually pulling this gun out for like picks across the map on some of these maps. I'm being dead fucking serious.
One's going fire. That guy was not
Yo,
weak.
are we?
So I don't think anyone's denying the rifle is really good. I mean, it kills fast, it shoots fast, it doesn't have much recoil, especially in the hands of a pro that can actually control it. And sure, the MCW can kill in 4 bullets. Fellow, of course, AR player, mainly for the Ravens, says, oh, come on, like the MCW killed in 4, you're delulu, right? Basically delusional, if you guys haven't heard that kind of shortening before. Dashy says, though, you know, skill issue for these guys. And obviously Scrappy in the replies as well, because he's been very vocal on the state of the game over the last few days. The spawns, the general feeling around the game right now isn't the most positive, but those who, you know, keep a positive mindset will probably end up being the ones that win the events, to be honest, right now. And as Scrappy says, I've seen people holding AR angles with the sub in scrims, but I'm keen for another MCW nerf, right? Obviously been pretty sarcastic because, you know, they do nerf they nerfed it once with the attachments, then they nerfed it again somewhat. The rival stays as it is. But as Dashy says, you know, maybe some debate there on whether the GAs need to be changed to adjust for this. If the ARs get their way, as it were, and they say, look, the rival's too strong, I keep getting, you know, mapped across the map here, this limitless range kill from the rival, then how about, you know, Ninja High Grain, right? Because High Grain was the ammunition attachment that was banned, like, by the pros, but maybe there's an argument to say bring that back so that it's more balanced with the sub. I don't know, like, I wouldn't be surprised if on maps like Rio, we do over time start to see, like, 3 rivals turn up on the map, and this is why when you watch a team like Seattle play Rio, it's just chalked because like their team is not set up to run multiple SMGs. We said that before the season began, and aBeZy tried running one the other day on Rio against the Ravens. We got absolutely gigaslammed, right? So I don't expect that story to change necessarily. So look, the funny thing was about this clip is that barely any SMG players, if any, were actually in the replies. Like they decided to sit this one out and didn't want to say anything on the matter because they knew they were going to get cooked if they tried to roast Dashy for this. And Accuracy says, you know, wow, people get to use this every day. And Dashy, of course, saying, you know, we're not playing the same game than what these guys are currently enjoying. And I didn't think it was interesting, right? Because one of the big talking points of the last couple of weeks has been Purge has no doubt improved since swapping roles and moving to the SMG. And it's like, wow, is Purge more comfortable on the sub? Or you could argue, is the sub just the better gun right now? To be fair, still you look at the top KDs in the league, it's going to be your ARs, but I feel like that's not always because their gun is better, but it's because of their playstyle, right? When you do play that slower role, whatever gun you play with, and of course the AR's more suited to that, then you're probably going to get more kills anyway. So I think it's just interesting to have a look at really the numbers between, you know, Purge, because there's absolutely no comparison really between Purge's numbers pre and post pulling out the Rival-9. So OpTic play once this weekend. They play the Ravens on the Saturday. Let's have a look at the games actually now for the remainder of the weekends because, well, these are the games Saturday, Sunday. Because I'm in Barcelona, I'm an hour ahead. So, and, you know, internet, like Wi-Fi, stuff like this, it might not be the quickest. I'll do my best to keep you guys updated this weekend. But today, we've got 2 matches. They may be rather fast. I guess we'll see. To be fair, Rocker FaZe should be really interesting. What I'm hoping is that Rocker haven't lost full because, I mean, Vegas versus Toronto was interesting last week. So I'm expecting Rocker FaZe to be as well. Because, of course, FaZe lost Game 5 to Subliners last week. And Rocker right now can't win a Game 5 to save their life. So I think this should be like a 3-1 FaZe, realistically. I do think that, historically speaking, whenever FaZe lose, the next team to play them quite often gets slammed. Like, that tends to be how it goes sometimes. And I feel like that could be the case of Rocker here. It depends if they've lost the plot, though, right? Because after the way that Rocker have lost their last few series, I cannot blame them in some ways if mentally they're a little bit checked out right now. And then they play FaZe next. They might be already thinking, all right, chalk up the FaZe series. Let's just beat Thieves on Sunday. But I don't think that's a good mentality. And I think they've got a chance. I do think FaZe is somewhat vulnerable. But I think 3-1 FaZe. And then Surge Ultra. I mean, yeah, you got to say the way that Surge looked last week. If Ultra take this one seriously, they should 3-0 smoke him in about 30 minutes. But we'll see what happens this evening. Very much interested your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.